There we go. Hi, welcome to Two Guys Talk Cleveland Sports. I'm your co-host, Tim Shirer. Joey Schneider is under the weather again tonight, so he will not be joining us. But what I do have on the phone, I have Chuck Murr, who has covered sports. What year did you start covering sports, Chuck?
I was hired by the plane dealer while I was still in college. My first day on the job was January 11th, 1975.
Oh, wow. So Chuck's been around 51 years with Cleveland sports. So he knows a lot that's gone on in Cleveland as far as pretty much every sports team. He's covered pretty much every professional sports team. So I just want to remind everybody that before we get going, that this show is brought to you by CT Roofing and Power Wash. They are experts in doing roofing and aluminum siding, and they can power wash your deck, your stairs, your house, your drive, and they can also help you file an insurance claim with the for your roof or your siding. You could call 440-278-0506, and they will help you. So, as we normally do, we're going to talk about all three teams tonight. And we're going to talk about the Cavs first. I know that, a lot of people were concerned with what happened yesterday in Oklahoma City with the team losing 121-113. But the fact they lost 121-113 after being down 28-5 with 4:50 left in the first period is pretty remarkable. Covering this team, I did not feel terrible after the loss. I felt that they fought back, and it was, sure, you would love to beat the best team in the NBA. And let's face it, Oklahoma City is the best team in the NBA. It's not, even close, I don't think. So whoever comes out of the East, whether it be the Cavs or somebody else, they're hoping that Oklahoma City gets knocked off, because I don't see a team from the East that could beat Oklahoma City. And that includes the Cavs. So I wasn't feeling really too badly after the loss. One thing that happened, like I said, they were down 28-5. They tied the game up 74-74 with 5:47 left in the third. They couldn't complete the comeback. And I've told this story before on other shows that I've been on and that I've done, that years ago when I covered the Cleveland Rockers, and Chuck Daly was a scout for the Orlando Miracle. Chuck Daly, who won multiple championships with the Pistons. He told me that it's very hard in the NBA. And as Chuck said to me when we were talking before the show here, at really any level, you expend so much energy coming back from a 20-point deficit that it's almost impossible to sustain it and win the game. And that's what happened last night or yesterday afternoon. The Cavs just couldn't finish it. They came back to tie that game, which is amazing, because they turned the ball over 10 times in the first 6 minutes, it looked really bad. And after that, I believe they only turned it over 6 more times in the entire game. So I think you can't look at the final score and say, oh, they can't beat Oklahoma City. They played a terrible first quarter, and they played well after that. So I still feel they're the best team in the East, and I feel like they'll come out of the East. I feel like they host the Knicks tonight, and I think that they beat the Knicks tonight. And then they play the Pistons 2 times coming up, and I feel like they'll beat the Pistons both times too. I have no confidence and JB Bickerstaff when it is a game that matters. So I still think the Cavs come out of the East. I really think they do, with the addition of James Harden. So James Harden, Chuck, he was an NBA MVP. Back when you covered the team from 92 to 2013?
Yes, 92 to 2013. I was a stringer for the Associated Press, and I assisted Chuck Melvin, Ken Berger, Tom Withers. And when they would go off to the Olympics, I would then take over the coverage. But I usually assisted those three great writers.
Did you work with Brian Dulick at all?
Brian Dulick followed me. Brian with the Medina Gazette. Then when I left AP, Brian became the assistant to the great Tom Withers.
Oh yeah, Tom Withers. He's still doing some work for them, but Tom is amazing.
Yes, he certainly is.
Yeah, I love talking to Tom because with Tom, you always get the truth. You don't get any sugarcoating.
And he's done some colossal events. He was the guy who covered Christian Leitner's last second shot that won the NCAA tournament back in the day.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's covered the Winter Olympics many times. He was at the finish line one year where a bobsled flew off the track, and unfortunately a man died.
Oh no!
Tom was mere yards away from the event. He's done a lot of top-notch stories, and he really should be doing a lot more. He's happy in retirement, but knowing Tom, he's probably a little bit cranky because he always wants to get that story.
Oh yeah, I see him. Yeah, he seems to do a couple Cavs games a month, and I agree with you. Tom is. I feel like Tom would rather be working, even though he's happy in retirement. I know how much Tom loves to work and write a story. I mean, he is one of the true professionals in Cleveland.
Yeah, he's a very intense worker, and you can't say anything more other than he is top notch across the board.
Yeah. So with your years covering the Cavs, so 90, 93, or 92 to 2013, which team of those teams was a team you really enjoyed covering?
Well, my favorite team of all time was when I was still at the Plain Dealer, and that was the '89 Cavs, who lost to Michael Jordan in the playoffs. I really thought that team had a chance to go all the way, and they were loaded with people that I really, really liked, as not only as players but as people. Coach Lenny Wilkins and General Manager Wayne Embry were just really classy gentlemen and incredibly knowledgeable. You had Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, Hot Rod Williams. You just went on and on. You had Steph Curry's dad, Del Curry, who could shoot just like Steph. That's where Steph got it. The team was loaded. Covering them, well, then the team kind of sort of went downhill after they got rid of Lenny. And unfortunately, a lot of sports writers said, get rid of Lenny because we never win a championship. Well, they got rid of Lenny, and you saw what happened. Lenny was probably the greatest coach in Cavaliers history and one of the greatest of all times. They went to Mike Fratello. They made the playoffs, but then things started to go downhill, and they constantly changed coaches. I can't even remember everybody. Paul Silas was there, and then John Lucas.
John Lucas
was really, he was very entertaining.
He was,
but a real wild man on the sidelines.
Yeah,
and then everything started to go back uphill when they got the great LeBron James.
Yeah,
Say that some of my most memorable night was the bizarre night when the Cavaliers' Ricky Davis tried to go for a triple-double by shooting at his own basket. He needed one more rebound. And so he foolishly took a shot and missed it at his own basket and grabbed the rebound, thinking that would give him his 10th rebound for his triple-double. But
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
I
But
think it was against Utah, wasn't it?
it was against the Utah Jazz, another
Yes.
team that I love to watch. And their coach was the late, great Jerry Sloan, who
What a great
as
coach.
a player with the Chicago Bulls and then longtime coach with the Jazz, was basically the Bobby Knight of the NBA. Jerry Sloan had quite a temper, and he jumped off the bench and basically wanted to challenge Ricky Davis right then and there. It was a really bizarre night.
Yeah, I remember. You know what? I remember that game because I was driving back from Niagara Falls, listening to it on the radio, and the late great Joe Tate wasn't too thrilled with Ricky Davis.
No, nobody in the Cavaliers organization was too thrilled, and actually, Ricky knew it. He kind of snuck out the back door, and I really needed to get Ricky, who usually was a really good quote, usually very charming. Well, I went out into the parking garage, and there was Ricky getting ready to get in his car, and I ran up and got a few quotes from him. I was the only Cleveland writer to do so, and I was kind of proud of that. But Ricky was a piece of work.
That's what I've always heard. That's, I mean, you think about it. I guess if you cover sports long enough, you could find something from a guy in every sport, that's done something like that. That's like, what is this guy doing?
Oh yeah, you want to, and then I am a sports fan, and I like the fun side of sports.
Yeah, me too.
The great Ricky Henderson not only was one of the most fabulous players in baseball history, he was downright hilarious. I mean, he always spoke in the first person or third person. Ricky did this. Ricky says this. Ricky says that. I remember late in his career, I think he was with the Padres or the Mets near the end of his career. And I wanted to speak with Ricky, and I went up to him before a game and said, "Have you got a couple minutes?" And he says, "Everybody always bothering Ricky. Everybody wants to talk to Ricky. Ricky this, Ricky that, Ricky this. I got a life. Ricky this, Ricky that." And I thought for sure he was going to shut me down. And then he says, "Okay, sir, what do you want to know?" I asked one question, and he spoke nonstop for 22 minutes on my tape recorder. And it was, as they said on the TV show Seinfeld, that's gold, Jerry, gold. It was just fabulous stuff. What a wonderful guy who we lost, sadly, 14 months ago. He died just before his birthday in December of 24. So Ricky Henderson, there's another Ricky. Let's see if I can get a triumvirate of Rickies. I can't think of it. Ricky. Well,
when he passed away, I thought to myself, now Ricky Henderson doesn't have to see the A's play somewhere else.
Yeah, well, yeah, Ricky. Yeah, who knows where they're going to be playing? They're playing right now in Sacramento, and they're supposed to have a fabulous ballpark built in Las Vegas. They will be the first professional franchise to play in 5 different cities. They started in Philadelphia, moved to Kansas City in 1953, then moved to Oakland in 1968. Now, last year they went to Sacramento, and they're destined to go on to Las Vegas. So they are the Wandering A's, and I've seen them this spring, and they're doing it the right way. They got some really good young players. Jacob Wilson, last year's Rookie of the Year, Nick Kurtz. And they're signing them to longer contracts. I think by the time they get to Vegas, if they can get some pitching, they're going to make some noise. And speaking of pitching, the Guardians, saw them yesterday, and I'm not really sold on their offense, but pitching, yeah, they've got some serious pitching, and they got a lot of relievers backed up in the minor leagues, which they're going to need because their major league staff was depleted by losing Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase because of their knuckleheaded moves. But the Guardians do look pretty good on the mound.
What do you think of, because I'm not, and I know it's a minor league deal, I'm not sold on the Rhys Hoskins signing for various reasons, but tell me what you think about this.
Well, I'm not a big Hoskins fan because he's got a lot of swing and miss, but for $1.5 million, if he makes the roster, he does have the ability to knock the ball out of the park, and they really need that.
Well,
they also need a right-handed hitter. And I think the best thing about him is because of his experience, he is a guy that can come off the bench with his experience and perhaps supply, not to belabor yesterday's loss to Oklahoma City, but he can supply some thunder. And I think if he shows this spring that he can still do that, he wouldn't be a bad guy to have on the bench. He could spell Kyle Manzardo as the DH. He can also play first base and split duties there with CJ Kapus. Kapus is a rookie. He looks good. He's got a nice swing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We saw him back at Lake County and with Akron and Columbus. He's got a nice, short, sweet stroke that reminds me of a guy named Greg Nettles from the left side.
Wow. Okay.
You go back and look at Greg Nettles. Greg Nettles had a short, sweet stroke and the ability to pull the ball. And that's when I first saw Kapus, that's the first thing I thought of. But he's a rookie. And so maybe Hoskins can give him a little breather if things are not going particularly well for a while. Kapus can get a breather, work on his game, and get back in the lineup. So I don't think it's a bad signing. You've got nothing to lose there. It's a win. It's not hitting it out of the ballpark as the fans want. The fans, of course, want Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
The fans want, they want Shohei Ohtani.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable.
Ain't going to happen. But, for having said that, the Guardians do more with less than any ball club.
Yes.
Maybe any professional team. Chris Antonetti and his group somehow find a way to get it done. Stephen Vogt, 2 years as manager, 2 years in the playoffs. What do you do for an encore? Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that concerns me about the move with Hoskins, and I totally agree with you, the front office. I think this front office may be the best in sports. But I think what concerns me is something that the last 2 years, I know they won the division, and I'm not one of those people that, they won the division, but they didn't get any farther. No, I understand how it works. I covered the Lake County Captains for 20 years. I know about the development side. But that's what bothers me, Chuck. They develop these guys, and the last 2 years, it's this platooning that is it's driving me insane.
Well, part of it is they desperately do need a right-handed bat. They are very left-handed oriented, and actually they've kind of put themselves in a box in right field where they have 3 left-handed hitters in Nolan Jones, George Valera, and Chase DeWater. And you don't have at-bats for all 3 of them, and all three of them need to play. They are the kind of people that have to play every day to keep their swings solid. George Valera yesterday, or rather the day before, Saturday, hit a really nice home run with a short, smooth swing. And that's the George Valera you and I saw back at Lake County and then with Akron. And when he got up to Columbus, he started to get pull happy. And instead of being a guy that looked like he was going to be 300 hitter with 20 home runs, he tried to muscle up and hit things and get 35 home runs and got totally fouled up. And then he encountered some injuries. But on Saturday, that swing looked like the old George Valera. And hitting behind or in front of Jose Ramirez, if he can hit 280 with 20 home runs, that's a real plus for the team.
And I think he can do it. But don't you agree from what you were saying, too? He's got to play every day.
Yes, he does. And so does Nolan Jones, who a couple of years ago with Colorado had 20 homers, 20 steals, and hit 280. Yeah, it's Colorado, but he still made contact. And when he came up through the Indians and the Guardian system, he showed the ability to be a very good hitter. And maybe he is back, but he needs to play. And then Chase DeLauder, the number one pick, who's had a broken foot that was rebroken and then broke his other foot, has had his timetable severely delayed. But I can tell you, when he makes contact, there is a very special sound when bat meets ball that you very rarely hear. And if he is healthy, he can be a difference maker.
He was, the first time I saw him was in the playoffs last year. I hadn't seen him, since I don't cover Lake County anymore. That's a topic for another show. But I just was very impressed how he handled himself, just everything about him in that game. He could have completely collapsed after making that error in center field, but he didn't.
Yeah, what a way to make your major league debut. You're making your major league debut in the playoffs, and the first ball's hit right at you, and you miss it. And, and I've seen him. He's a good outfielder. He's not exemplary, but he's not the player that he was on that play. Mm-hmm. And to his credit, if you recall, later in the game, he threw out a base runner from the outfield, and he made amends. He did not hang his head. He hustled, and he came back, and that shows the kind of guy he is. I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's a very polite young man, has a lot of energy, wants to do well, and he's been very, very frustrated, as anybody would be, with a series of broken foot. The only thing I have to say about that was the great Zydrunas Ilgauskas of the Cavaliers 25 years ago had that problem. He was the first round pick and had some severe foot injuries again and again and again. And it turned out that he became one of the finest centers, probably the finest center, maybe along with Brad Doherty in Cavaliers history.
Oh, I agree. He persevered through injuries. If DeLauder can do the same thing as him, he can have a really good career.
Yeah, it could happen. And then,
I just feel like you got to play young guys every day, though. Platooning them, they can never get, in a rhythm. Rick Manning talks about it all the time during games.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Getting in a rhythm is so important. And it takes a special guy to be able to come off the bench and do it. And usually that's a veteran guy, a guy who's been around and knows about that. Like back in the 70s with the Indians, Rico Cardi, Tommy Davis was the first designated hitter with the Baltimore Orioles in 1973. He was a former batting champion with the Dodgers in 1962. So he had been there, done that. And that's the kind of guy that can provide a little pop off the bench. And again, Hoskins Not to say that he's Tommy Davis or Rico Cardi, but he does have the experience. And for a guy that's going to be your 24th, 25th, 26th player on the roster, I see nothing wrong with the signing. I don't think it'll hurt things. And, he's on a minor league contract, and we'll see what happens here in the spring. You never know what's going to happen with injuries. We've talked about that from the Guardians' perspective, but you look at some of the superstars. You got Francisco Lindor out. You've got Jackson Holliday, one of the hopefuls with the Baltimore Orioles, and Jordan Westburg of the Orioles. He's out. There's a lot of guys already. They're undergoing surgery, and here we are. It's not even March. Boy.
So, okay. So, that's what some people said to me when I was complained about the signing, but I guess those are good points, and you can never have enough depth, right? Especially when you lack for power anyway.
Yeah, they really need, and they need somebody to protect Jose Ramirez. As the season goes on, teams simply don't pitch to him. I mean, I wouldn't pitch to him, and he gets frustrated. Then he starts fishing out of the zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Great ball player, switch hitter, and again, but he needs some protection in the lineup.
We got a couple minutes left here. I've got just a few things on the Browns. We got, really two things. I'm not sure. I guess he's disputing the report. One of your former co-workers at the Plain Dealer, Mary Kay Cabot, reported that it is a real possibility that JOK will never play again in the NFL. And he came out yesterday and said, well, that's news to him. So that's interesting. Maybe he just doesn't want to give up yet.
Maybe the report, maybe the report is a JOKE.
Could be, very well could be. But also, since last week's show, Wyatt Teller announced that he will not re-sign with the Browns. He will be moving on to somewhere else.
He'll probably go to Pittsburgh. Then he could be Penn and Teller.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That does not help. That does not help Cleveland's progress, because you need a line in front of a young quarterback.
Well, they need some veterans with young linemen too.
Yep. So Cleveland's going to have to do some replacement there. Perhaps sign more than one veteran lineman to help things. They got a long way to go.
Yeah, they do. They do. But they've had a long way to go since '99, Chuck.
Well, maybe even longer than that.
So, but I want to thank you for being on the show, Chuck.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was always a pleasure working with you out at Lake County and back in the days with the Cleveland Rockers of the WNBA. And even before that, when you covered the Cleveland Crunch of the National Professional Soccer League. That's when I met you.
Yes.
What was that, Tim? I'm sorry.
That was the first thing I ever covered.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I was the media director for the Crunch, and then I left there and became the media director for the entire league. And I know you were very passionate about that team, and for good reason, because they won 3 championships: 1994, 1996, 1999, and they were in the finals 3 other times. And that was a lot of fun, no doubt about it.
Yes.
You there? Good.
And those were great times, Chuck.
Yeah.
And hopefully we could have you on again from spring training.
Let me know. I'm out here It was such
But
a
that's going to be it for tonight's show.
it was such a beautifully sunny day here in Phoenix that even though I don't have my camera activated, Tim is wearing sunglasses. That's how bright it was.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I heard it was 81.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for tonight's show. Like I said, thank you, Chuck Murr, for being with us. Hopefully, Joey will be back next week and we'll get back to our hour format.
You betcha,
So
Tim.
have a
Thank
good
you
night,
very much.
everybody. And let's hope for a Cavs